Is there hope for those that have infertility issues? The field of reproductive and developmental biology has been revolutionized by recent advanced studies. These studies indicate that stem cells are capable of forming gametes in vivo and in vitro in both mouse and human. The article I will be reviewing is New Hope for Infertility Therapy, Fabricating Gametes from Stem Cells, and this is from the Archives of Andrology from 2006. We have now powerful tools for undertaking new types of reproductive studies, and this may offer us some new technology and some fresh approaches in assisted conception. How does this relate to our biology class, Science 115? Well, in our course, sexual reproduction is explained in detail. Particularly in Chapter 8 of Biology Today and Tomorrow, it goes into detail about gametes. We know from Chapter 8 that gametes are the female and male reproductive cells. We may call them the egg and the sperm. When all goes as planned in the reproductive cycle, these two gametes come together to form a zygote. This is the beginning of life for most animals. In the case of infertility, all does not go as planned. This article goes into details how scientists are working with gametes and stem cells to shed new light and give new hope to those with fertility issues. So this article in particular really hit close to home. For the past 14 years, I myself have struggled with infertility, along with an endocrine disorder that accompanies. I saw the article and I wanted to know more about the science behind fertility and how someone with issues can see them in a new light. Fertility is a highly emotional issue. However, with the help of science, perhaps couples can find new hope where they once had none. The field of reproductive medicine has been revolutionized by recent studies that can show us the causes of infertility and how we can treat these types of infertility. Recent studies have demonstrated that in both mouse and human embryonic stem cells, we are capable of forming primordial germ cells in vitro, which is a big step towards solving some of these fertility issues that men and women are facing. Male infertility accounts for approximately 50% of human infertility, specifically in the case of abnormal sperm production. At present, treatments for male fertility are limited and most often range from vitro fertilization techniques, which rather thwart than treat the fertility issue. So these sperm injections are what are most commonly used in male fertility. They don't fix the issue, they just kind of put a band-aid on it. So the development of ICSI, these sperm injection therapies, have made achievable the use of individual sperm or germ cells that are recovered from various maturation stages for fertilization. Recent development of spermatogeneal stem cell culture techniques makes possible in vitro expansion of stem cells from a small biopsy sample for transplantation. This is a method to culture the Sertoli cells and develop the right effect. More recent studies indicate that mouse embryonic stem cells can form germ cells in vitro. In addition, the embryonic stem cells from the mouse can fabricate primordial germ cells and haploid male gametes. or the spermocytes. These are then injected into the oocytes, the female, to mate, and they can restore the diploid chromosome complement that is needed to develop the blastocyst. The possibility to derive germ cells and the male gamete cells from the embryonic stem cells could significantly impact assisted reproduction. This would enable male infertile individuals to have their own genetic children when before they can't. This is common with patients that have had radiation and maybe their sperm are not active. Using this technique, they can actually restore their sperm, and men that used to have to maybe find a donor could possibly now have their own genetic children. So the other half of this is, of course, female infertility. It takes two types of gametes to make a zygote, which makes a baby, so we need to talk about the female side of this. And a basic principle of reproductive biology is that most mammalian females have a limited amount of eggs. Right? They lose the capacity for germ cell renewal during fetal life. They have a fixed reserve of oocytes enclosed within the follicles that they are endowed with at birth. Recent studies have indicated that juvenile and adult mouse ovaries possess active germ cells that are based on the rate of oocyte degeneration. So they need to continuously replenish the follicle pool. However, after time, their oocytes degenerate, which would render the egg infertile. And this happens, of course, with age. So we have a limited supply. And it is believed that most human females will deplete their supply of oocytes by the age of 45. This is especially distressing for women with fertility issues. However, of course, it is relatively consistent that the number of follicles found in human females between the ages of 18 and 38 years of life are more fertile than in their advanced ages. However, research has now shown that for the first time, human eggs may develop directly from a cultured ovarian surface. And this can be derived from adult human ovaries that were obtained from multiple women. In this case, they took eggs from women ages 39 to 52 to see if they could revive them. And they have found that they are now able to, using stem cells, produce mature human eggs from adult ovaries in vitro. And this has several potential applications when we're talking about human reproduction. And this is a diagram here of what our ovary looks like and where the oocyte is and how that falls in line when we're talking about the egg developing and maturing during ovulation. And as you can see, the oocyte here at the top is not at the full maturity for the egg. However, as you go around clockwise, you can see it continues to mature. Oftentimes when we're talking about infertility, that maturing does not happen. And that, of course, would cause it to not be a fertile egg. So let's talk about female gametes formation in vitro. The capacity to produce mature human eggs from adult ovaries in vitro has several potential applications when it comes to reproduction. The technique of harvesting cells from the ovarian surface is relatively easy. This can be done by laparoscopy techniques, and this yields more cells to use for in vitro fertilization. The ability to develop human eggs from the OSE cells may help women with reduced fertility and premature menopause who lack follicles in their ovaries. This will give them a better chance to conceive through in vitro fertilization. So using that stem cell research and actually able to bring those eggs that weren't maturing to maturity, now with this technique, they may be able to have children later in life, so they have a longer time span, which is often not allotted to women with fertility issues. So eventually they can freeze these OSE cells from younger females to be preserved later as well, so this ability to mature the eggs in a lab for those that decide to freeze their eggs, that also increases their chance of conception. This could mean a 10 to 12 year delay in natural menopause, which is good news for anyone with fertility issues or anyone that decided to delay having children. So we have new hope. So experiments in fabricating gametes from stem cells and generating viable embryos provide a new hope for the future in infertility therapies. This new technique may have significant impact on assisted reproductive medicine in the next decade. So we've talked about the fertility and how couples are having issues with fertility, but who's paying for this and how should it be funded? And before I talk about that, I want to talk about why should we fund fertility and infertility. And I wanted to show you some statistics. The number of women aged 15 to 44 with impaired fertility, they are not able to get pregnant, 6.7 million, according to the Centers for Disease Control. The percent of women ages 15 to 44 with impaired fertility, 10.9%. And I have listed some statistics here on this page. The number of women ages 15 to 44 who have ever had infertility services, ever had issues conceiving, 7.4 million women have had issues conceiving. 1 in 10 women have a condition that has made it difficult for them to conceive or impossible for them to conceive. And this is a very distressing, it can cause other issues, depression, anxiety. So it's an issue that impacts a lot of women. And there's a good chance we all know someone impacted by infertility, if not yourself. And some people do suffer in silence. Some people are embarrassed. They don't want to talk about it. So, beyond the science of it all, there's that emotional feeling of, why can't I do this? However, that being said, I feel this is a private sector issue. I don't feel the government should be involved in this. The private sector has the most to gain from research, coming up with new medicines, new treatments. So I do feel this should be funded by the private sector. Such fertility issues, they're so personal, and I just don't feel that it should be taxpayer funded. I don't feel like the government should be involved in such a personal issue. That's just my opinion. However, it is a personal issue, and I think it should be left to the private sector to fund and to find funding. But I also think they need to make it more affordable for women who have these issues but may not have the financial ability to treat these issues on their own. So wrapping things up, fertility as a whole is a very personal issue for so many people. However, with the help of science, couples who had once lost hope but want to conceive do have new hope that one day their dreams of having a baby will come true.